Day, March the 19th, 2018 at 2 p.m. in Council Chambers. And first off, we have some adoption of some minutes, the Committee of the Whole minutes of March the 5th, 2018, and the regular open minutes of March the 5th. Could we have a motion to adopt those? Thank you. Councillor Youngberg, Councillor Rhodes. All in favor? Thank you. Business arising from prior minutes? Nothing? Okay. Introduction of late items. I have two. One is business number 2, which are the community grants from this morning. And under bylaws, number 6, the housing agreement. Those are the two added to. All right. So could we please have the agenda adopted as amended? Thank you, Councillor King, Councillor Campbell. All in favor? And no delegations. So first we have water matters. And that would be to report on expenditures from accounts payable for water councillors and council approval. And to approve water cash requirements in the amount of $8,554.95. Would that be Councillor Moreira, Councillor Ray? All in favor? Thank you very much. And next is the Water District Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw. Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So before Council is the Water District Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 1241.11 2018. The Town of Vesuvius operates a rural water system under the Water District Rates and Regulations Bylaw 1241. Each year the town's bylaws are reviewed, and when changes are required, they're brought forward as an amending bylaw to update the content and or the fees and charges. Schedule A, B, and E have been amended to reflect a $13.45 increase to water user fees for domestic use, with a 3.4% increase to the other water district user fees. The 2018 rate for domestic use is $408.97. The proposed water district rates were discussed at the December 14th, 2017 budget meeting and were included in the January 18th and February 22nd budget meetings as well, with Council's direction to bring the bylaw forward. The increase in rates is expected to raise an additional $18,500 in revenues. Funding available for all water capital projects are $546,525, which is up from $469,335 that was available in 2017. The 2018 water capital projects include water supply main gyro park to Starlight Inn, radio SCADA upgrades, SCADA computer replacement, well 8 pump replacement, twinning phase 1 for contract 3, and twinning for meter installation. Implications for community: improved water infrastructure, improved water quality. Organizationally, there's no changes required. Under budget, increased revenues will assist with water capital projects. Significant dates: bylaw needs to be adopted prior to financial plan being adopted. Sustainability: actually the significant dates there, this bylaw needs to be adopted before the billings go out for the rural water area. Under sustainability, continued effort for protecting the environment, reduction of the carbon footprint, and financial sustainability, and ensuring the proper use of water supply. So the options before Council: option 1, to give first three readings to Water District Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 1241.11 2018. Option 2, to make further changes to Bylaw 1241.11 and give first three readings. And option number 3, to leave Bylaw 1241.10 as is for 2017. And a recommendation for the water councillors is option number 1.
Thank you. Councillors? Well done. And you're seconding that? Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we go with option 1 to give first three readings. All in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you. Next is the Okanagan Basin Water Board meeting highlights. And a couple of things on there. One is that that the film, the river film, is going to be shown on March the 21st in Kelowna. during Canada Water Week. It was also shown here last weekend. The Okanagan, the Serious Lake Water Quality Society showed it at Watermark on Saturday afternoon, and I understand they had about 75 people there. So that's very good. I think there's a lot of interest in this, and there's an article in there about strong muscle action. There are many letters being sent to federal and provincial governments about keeping the mussels out of Osoyoos, and Don't Move a Mussel is the other one. And Osoyoos has a couple, or the OBWB has a couple of upcoming webinars for people who are interested. You probably have heard and you've seen on the town website that we're quite concerned about the water levels right now. It's 144% over in the Similkameen and 141% in the Okanagan of normal. And they are suggesting, everybody's sort of getting prepared and keeping an eye out on this, that we could be in for floods the same as last year. So look at, there was some articles on, I think they went out with our e-news or our town website about being prepared, and we just don't want, we want people to take it seriously, because depending on how quickly the snow melts and whether we have any rain or not, we could be in for another rough year like we did last year. But we want to be a little better prepared, because we didn't really understand it last year, because at this point in the game we didn't have, it wasn't over 100%. We were actually worried that there could have been a drought. Okay, so I think that's all I had to say about it. Would you like to move the acceptance? Thank you. Received. Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Youngberg, all in favor? Thank you. And next is the letter of support for the adult literacy. And who's that? Is that? Oh, so we'll just treat it like mail. So a couple of years ago we were asked for a letter of support for funding, to apply for funding to help adults with reading, writing, and math difficulties throughout the South Okanagan literacy program. And the lady who is doing this again, or has taken over from Mary Kavist, has asked that we support this with another letter. Yeah. Go ahead.
Do we need a motion? Yeah,
Yes.
I'd like to move that we write a letter of support.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
second that,
Councillor
for
King. There is a copy of one that was done a couple years ago
Awesome.
in here, and I would think that we could perhaps use this format and then just update it.
Yep.
Okay. All in favor of writing the letter? Thank you very much. And next is the sewer rates and regulations amendment bylaw. Is that Mr. Zackel?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So before Council, Sewer Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 1065-19, 2018. This bylaw received first three readings on the March 5th regular open meeting of Council. It's scheduled for a 4% increase to sewer user fees and a 2.89% increase to the rural sewer user fees. So the 2018 rate is for single-family residents is $251.10, and as this compares to the town of Oliver, who is charging actually $258 per single-family residence. So options before Council are to adopt Sewer Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 1065-19, 2018. Option 2, to rescind third reading and make further amendments to Bylaw 1065-19 and reread for a third time. And staff's recommending option number 1 on this.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell?
I'll move option number 1.
Second.
Councillor King is seconding that. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are we at the zoning? Yeah, the zoning?
Waste management.
Sorry, past one, it looks similar. Okay, waste management, is this you, Mr. Mr. Zackel?
Yes, there's a
Thank
number
you.
of fees and charges bylaws
Yes.
that are sort
Yes,
of coming
there are.
forward. So this bylaw is Waste Management Service and Regulation Amendment Bylaw 1309.04. Once again, this bylaw received first three readings at the March 5th regular open meeting of Council. So the rate for garbage collection and recycling has been increased by 3%, and it's $134 for 2018. So options before council to adopt Waste Management Service and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 1309.04 2018. Option 2 to rescind third reading and make further changes to Waste Management Service and Regulation Amendment Bylaw 1309.04 2018 and reread for a third time. And once again, staff's recommending option number 1. This assists with the increased costs of our collection contractor.
Thank you very much.
Where? Here.
Over here on this side, okay. Well, they always complain when I don't go over to this side often enough.
Fine.
Where's your stick?
Yeah, sometimes. Okay, Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Youngberg, all in favor. Thank you.
She's been a teacher most of her career. She picks favorites. You get it.
I just want to make sure I'm fair. Okay. The next one is the zoning amendment bylaw. That would be Director McKay.
Thank you, Mayor McCurtuff. Good afternoon. Just to provide a little bit of background, the Town of Osoyoos zoning bylaw number 1085 was first adopted in 1998, and since that time there have been several changes in provincial legislation and policy which are not reflected in the current bylaw. Zoning bylaw reviews are usually preceded by an official community plan review or update. Now, recognizing this, the Town of Osoyoos has in fact included an OCP review in their 2017 to 2020 business plan. Town staff have identified a few areas within the zoning bylaw that would benefit from updating prior to the review of the OCP and subsequent overall update of the zoning bylaw. The following section provides information on the proposed updates and amendments along with corresponding rationale. And just for clarity, each of these sections is independent, so 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3, because I know there was some confusion. The first section is on supportive recovery. And according to the National Survey on Drug Use and Health, 21.5 million American adults ages 12 and older have battled a substance use disorder in 2014 alone. The World Health Organization estimates the global burden disease related to drug and alcohol issues to be 5.4% worldwide. And of course, we've all read the papers of late, and we recognize the crisis in our province right now. Staff in the Planning and Development Department have had inquiries regarding specific zone which would allow for supportive recovery unit. To date, staff's response to these inquiries has been to suggest that a recovery facility could be located on a property zoned for a community care facility. However, the province has specifically stated that this type of use is not an appropriate fit with community care facility. The proactive approach, therefore, is to outline the specifics under which Council could or would consider a rezoning to allow for supportive recovery on a site-specific basis. Supportive recovery can be defined as a facility providing a supportive and structured environment for individuals recovering from drug and alcohol addiction before they are ready to move into independent housing. And supportive recovery specifically excludes first-stage housing. So the following criteria are being suggested which could be included in the zoning bylaw. Now, Council may approve a zoning application for a supportive recovery facility on a residentially zoned property subject to the following conditions. Have sleeping accommodation for not more than 6 persons, which includes 2 on-site staff members, not to be permitted where there is a residential care use, boarding use, or a home occupation use on the lot, not permitted within 250 meters of an existing supportive recovery use or a primary, secondary school, have no indication that the building is used for a purpose other than residential use, and have a minimum of 3 parking spaces. Additional specific requirements would also need to be addressed in order to obtain a business license for a supportive recovery facility. And such requirements would include, for example, a criminal record check, a copy of a business plan, and credentials of the person or persons providing supportive services to the residents of the facility. Now, Appendix A also provides a list of recommended requirements for issuance of a business license for a supportive recovery facility. And I'd just like to point out to Council that at this time, we're not bringing forward an amendment to the business license bylaw dependent on where Council decides to go with this recommendation on these amendments to the zoning bylaw. If we were to proceed, then we would in due course bring that forward. So the second item that we're discussing is the use of use of residential properties for a recreational vehicle storage lot. So the zoning bylaw currently allows for a recreational vehicle storage lot to be located within 6 of the residential zones, including 3 of our single-family zones. One of the conditions to allow for this use is that the property owner must have neighborhood consent. The bylaw also states that a hedge must be planted around the recreational vehicle, and a chain link fence installation is also recommended. This use may also include a sani dump. Staff recommend that this use be removed from the single-family residential zones, as it's difficult to manage, is not compatible with residential uses. Operational staff, public works staff, support the recommendation to remove this use from residential properties. With the approval of the amending bylaw, the storage of recreational vehicles, that is boats and RVs, etc., would only be permitted in conjunction with the primary use of the property, which is residential. The use of vacant residentially zoned properties for recreational vehicle or boat storage would no longer be permitted. So in other words, you can have your home and have your RV and your boat and so forth on it. So the use of a portion of property for a recreational vehicle storage lot has been added as an accessory use to the medium and high density residential zones to accommodate the storage of recreational vehicles for condominium owners. The bylaw amendment includes a definition for a recreational vehicle storage lot, which removes the requirement to have a neighborhood consent and removes the ability to have a sani dump in association with the storage lot. So the third section of this report is about the C5 zone, which is a recreation vehicle / campground zone, which allows for the establishment of campgrounds and recreation vehicle parks, as well as licensed bed and breakfast and accessory uses. So when the zone was established, the setbacks between individual recreational vehicles were not identified. So the proposed bylaw amendment includes a minimum setback of 2.25 meters between recreational vehicle pads. Recreational vehicles will also be required to comply with the general setbacks for all of the uses within this zone. So implications of the recommended amendments to the zoning bylaw are as follows. Under community, consistent, clear, and effective regulations are the cornerstone of transparent governance and overall community health. Organizational, staff in the Planning and Development Department benefit from having clear identified objectives and direction in the bylaws they refer to on a daily basis. Budget, the proposed update to the zoning bylaw has no implications for the budget. Significant dates, a public hearing would be required. Sustainability, long-term sustainability of our community and the surrounding areas achieved through good planning practices that are proactive rather than reactive. Now the options here, I'd like to request that council look at option number 1 and consider a change in the date. So option 1 would be council grants first and second reading to the amending bylaw and sets a public hearing date of April 16th, 2018. Option 2, this item be returned to staff for additional information or further review. And option 3, the amending bylaw be abandoned. So the recommendation is staff recommend option number 1, council grants first and second reading to the amending bylaw and sets a public hearing date of April 16th, 2018. And the request to change to the April 16th date is in response to community members' concerns that there's not enough time for them to prepare for the public hearing. And as I understand it, their concerns are with the property in their neighborhood where they anticipate that a supportive recovery facility is or will be operating. And I just want to be clear to council that the proposed zoning bylaw amendments are to include a definition of supportive recovery. No specific properties in our community will be zoned for that use at this time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, because there were some people that were here this morning, Ms. McKay, that were coming back, I think, to that. So that will be well advertised. Okay. Did you, and when, can I just ask a question? Sure. When we have the public hearing, will all 3 of these issues be on the agenda for the public hearing?
All 3 of them are on the same bylaw, but we could separate them if you wished. I mean, because we weren't looking at any specific properties to be rezoned. We do feel like it is an update to the zoning bylaw rather than, a rezoning,
Okay.
which would obviously we would only do independently.
Okay, so the bottom line is on the 16th, we will have all three of these will be on the agenda to be looked at, to have a public hearing about. People
That's
can ask
correct.
questions about. Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
a question. It's a little just hypothetical. If the 2.3 on recreation vehicle campgrounds happen to go through, would the people that have RV parks be grandfathered in?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this came up before, I think, didn't it? Because of people building on houses on the side and there was not enough room for fire protection, really. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor McCortoff. This is also in response to an inquiry regarding a property on Lakeshore Drive that's currently vacant, that is zoned for this specific use. And just so you know, I'm working with the applicant to come up with some terms that are that they're comfortable with as well. So this number 2.25 came also from them, and also looking at best practices of other RV parks in our community and elsewhere.
Good, thank you. So, council, anybody like to make a, Councillor Rhodes?
If I could just ask a quick question before.
Sure.
We have certain zoned lots, some are probably highway commercial and some are private that store RVs on now, that do not have a adjoining house or residence. They're actually vacant lots. Does that change the criteria with those as well?
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes, through the chair. Technically, yes, it would. And it's because the way the bylaw is written right now, recreational vehicle storage lot is a primary use of the property. I did actually go and have a look around town, and there's actually very few vacant lots at this point. There are maybe, I think we discovered there was 5, maybe 6 that we counted that were actually residentially zoned. There are actually other vacant lots that that also are being used, but they're in commercial or service commercial zones that have RVs stored on them.
Yeah, so they would be a commercial entity, actually a business. Would this change
No.
that aspect? They would be able to continue?
You're talking about up at our.
The focus here is residential lots, R1 lots.
Residential.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, I asked the question because I'm not sure what the zoning are, and a couple of them I would anticipate that they would be residential, because there was a home on it that was torn down, and
You're talking about legals. That's still commercial.
Maybe.
If I may, that is the trouble with being like 2 months in here. I actually don't know where you mean.
Yeah,
okay.
maybe you could go and see her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can revisit that in the
Yeah.
future.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Councillor.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion then, Councillor Rhodes?
I'll move option 1 with that date change that was requested.
Oh, they all have to be?
The first and second reading is one motion, and the public hearing will be a second.
Okay, so this would be for the
First and second reading.
reading?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's been moved and seconded that we have first and second reading for this bylaw. All in favor? Thank you. Now, would somebody like to make a motion, Carol? So go ahead. For the public hearing on April the 16th?
To be April the 16th,
Correct.
Okay.
as indicated.
You're seconding that?
Okay.
Did you have a question about it? No. Okay. All in favor of that? Thank you very much. So that's covered that one up? Okay, thank you.
Would that public hearing be here? I wonder if we should announce that. Would it be here in council chambers?
Yes.
At 4 o'clock, kind of like the one on the 3rd was
That's
scheduled? So
correct.
it's at 4 o'clock. Okay. All right, thank you. Next is the Water Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw. Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So this is the Town Water Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 124210, 2018. This bylaw also received first 3 readings at the March 5th meeting. Bylaw 1242.10 has got a $13.42 increase to the water user fees and a 4% increase to the remaining user fees. In comparison, the 2018 rate for single-family residents is $348.96 before the parcel tax. And as a Comparison, the town of Oliver rate is $417.60. So options before council to adopt water rates and regulations amendment bylaw 124210, or option 2 to rescind third reading and make further amendments to bylaw 124210 and reread for a third time. And the recommendation on this one, as previously discussed, was option number 1.
Thank you. Councillor King?
Yeah, I'll move option number 1 to adopt the water rates and regulations amendment bylaw 1242.10 to 18.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Campbell. All in favor? Thank you. Are you allowed to vote on that? Would you? Okay, fine. So now we're on to the 5-year financial plan. Is that Mr. Zackel or Mr. Emenko? Okay.
Okay, thank you. So we've got our 5-year financial plan bylaw 1339-2018. Section 165 Community Charter requires municipalities to prepare a financial plan for a period of 5 years, which is adopted annually by bylaw. The Charter also requires Council to undertake a process of public consultation regarding the proposed financial plan before it's adopted. This bylaw received first 3 readings at the March 5th, 2018 regular open meeting at Council. A number of budget meetings were held to discuss the 2018 to 2022 budget, from the December 14th, 2017 meeting to February 22nd, 2018, with a special open budget meeting on January 18th, 2018 for Council to seek input from the community on the budget document and for consideration for the budget. 5-year financial plan bylaw number 1339-2018 is now being presented for Council's consideration to adopt. A financial plan must set out proposed expenditures by the municipality, proposed revenue sources, and proposed transfers between funds. The information must set out for each of the 5 years covered of the financial plan. The Act requires certain particulars must be included. However, the amount of detail is a matter for local determination. The financial plan must not plan for a deficit. The total proposed revenue sources plus transfers from other funds must not exceed the total of proposed expenditures and transfers to other funds. The public consultation requirements. Section 166 of the Community Charter requires Council to undertake a process of public consultation regarding a proposed financial plan before it's adopted. The Act does not specify the format of public consultation process, and it may be varied at Council's discretion to suit the local community. In addition to the special open meeting noted above, the financial information is also available on the town's website. Advertisements have been placed in the March 17th and 14th issues of the Osceola Times, and an opportunity for the public to provide input can be given prior to Council adopting the financial plan bylaw. The financial plan must be adopted by bylaw at any time before the annual property tax bylaw is adopted. Section 197.1 requires that Council must adopt the annual property tax bylaw before May 15th. So at this point in time, I would like to pass this back to Mayor McCordoff to provide the public an opportunity to comment prior to Council's consideration of adoption.
Thank you. So we do have an opportunity now for anybody in the public who would like to come up to the microphone and make a comment on this, and then we will go back to following this. Is there anyone who would like to make? Please do come up to the microphone. Is the microphone on, Mrs. Hilson? Thank you. Could you please state your name and address before you begin? Thank you.
My name is Lyle Warmington. I live at 19 Bayview Crescent, Osceola. I'm sorry, I'm not really prepared for this, because when we were here this morning discussing this, we were advised that we weren't going to be allowed to talk today. However,
This is
one of my main objections to the report going ahead and having its first and second reading is that the fast tracking of something that's so important that will affect the residentially zoned, which is R1 through R7. It's affecting the whole of the city.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, the public comment is specific only to the budget. It's not specific, it's not to what's been done for the bylaw change. The mayor was asking for public comment on the budget, on the financial plan, not on the item that we spoke to earlier.
I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
And would that come up at the public meeting?
That
The
would come
item
up
that
at
you
the-
were talking
that's-
about?
that's-
Sorry.
that's at
I know
public
that
hearing.
goes at the public meeting, and
Yes.
that's why.
No,
I
this
was
is just if
confused.
anybody wanted to comment on,
Okay.
on the budget at this time, that's all.
I apologize, I didn't realize.
Okay,
that.
no problem. You can come back on
You're
the,
really prepared on the 60?
I'll be really prepared.
oh, good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So is there anyone who would like to comment on the budget at this time? No. Do I have to ask 3 times?
You should ask 3 times.
Yes.
Okay. All right. One says no, one says yes, so.
3 times.
That was the first. Is there anyone who would like to comment at this time on the budget? And for the 3rd time, is there anyone who would like to comment on the budget? Hearing no one. No, not you.
No, I wasn't going to comment on the budget.
I'm going to let Mr. Zackel finish the report first, and then we'll deal with it. Thank you. Did you have anything?
Can I just make a comment?
Yes, please.
Just in terms of public consultation, not only this opportunity was made available, but at the meeting in January, when council brought forth to the community any additional requests to the community, that was also an opportunity for the community to make comment on the budget while it was still much in its draft stages, just for clarity.
Yes, thank you. There have been several opportunities to do so, so thank you. Okay, Mr. Zackel.
So the recommendation from staff is basically option number 1 for council to adopt 5-year financial plan bylaw 1339-2018. The budget has been discussed in detail. All amendments as per council's discretion or direction have been made, which included public input into the budget.
Thank you very much. Now, Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Obviously, a lot of conversation, a lot of public input has gone on to get to this point, and kudos for making sure that all of the public and council's concerns or wishes were addressed, and we got to a reasonable tax increase that we were hoping to get to. So having said that, I'd like to move for council to adopt 5-year financial plan bylaw 1339-2018.
Thank you. And Councillor Rhodes is seconding that. And thank you, Councillor Campbell. Those comments were very appropriate. So anybody else? All in favor of the motion? Thank you very much, Mr. Zackel.
Thank you.
Now, business plan.
No,
Nope.
number 6.
Back, right, number 6. Okay, this would be the housing agreement bylaw, so don't leave yet. Bylaw 1340.
That's correct. So this bylaw, housing agreement bylaw 1340-2018, is being brought forward for council's consideration. The Town Meadowlark subdivision is a 27-lot subdivision, and Elkhart Construction has entered into an option to purchase agreement with the Town of Vesuvius to purchase these lots in 2016. From these 27 lots, 4 were to be designated as affordable housing lots. Currently, 44% of the lots have been purchased to date, and under Bylaw 1328 and Amendments 1328.01, lots 3 and 16 were registered as affordable housing lots. Mr. Buckendall of 1068612 BC Limited, also known as Elkhart Construction, has made a request to transfer the affordable housing covenant that was originally set up on Lot 3 to Lot 14. Bylaw 1340-2018 is being brought forward to make these changes. Mr. Buckendall is currently in the process of purchasing Lot 14, and we actually have the full amount of the purchase price on site for that said lot that he wants to put that new covenant on. Once this purchase is finalized, we will have a total of 48% of the lots sold. Once the new bylaw is adopted, the restrictive covenant would be removed from Lot 3 and placed on Lot 14. It is recommended from staff that these funds or this transfer would be acceptable, as there's still 52% of the lots remaining, and the other 2 remaining affordable housing lots would come from the remaining lots that need to be sold. So implications for under significant dates: new bylaw would not take effect until adopted. And the recommendations before council: option 1, to give first 3 readings to housing agreement bylaw 1340-2018, or option number 2, to maintain existing bylaw 1328-2017. and staff at this time is recommending option number 1.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Kordoff. So, in the report, you've explained his request really well. On the surface, it seems quite innocent and acceptable. I'm wondering about his motivation, his reasoning for making the request. None of that is covered in the report at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently, Lot 3, as he was building these houses, he's had a offer to purchase on lot number 3, with no appetite to enter into an affordable housing agreement type of scenario from that purchaser. So Mr. Buckendall is asked if Town Council would consider moving that restrictive covenant to another one of the lots in the development, and to ensure that he's also, purchasing that one in advance as well to ensure that.
Are you comfortable that this would be a one-time request, or is it a precedent that we're...
I don't know if this is going to be a one-time request or not. I can't answer that. I can answer is there's a number of lots that are still available, and at least we're tying up 50%, or the 2 out of the 4 affordable housing lots within the first 50% of the lots sold. So I believe that no matter what we've got, that captured.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Campbell?
I had a similar concern that if there's an offer without an appetite for the affordable housing plan for Lot 14, that we're not here doing this again. I don't see an issue with this request, but staff's time and everybody's time to do this, should another offer come in on 14, is what would concern me. Can we, if we were to approve this change, could we state that there'll be no further changes? Is that something we can do?
Mr. Emenko?
If I could speak to that, I guess I'd like to see us keep an open mind, or for council to keep an open mind in terms of which lots we have for the near market housing program. In part, this Lot 3, based on the tour the council did, that particular unit was a double garage unit, and I think we've had some discussions about the near market program not including double garage units that are more focused at the smaller units. So the remainder of the lots would be able to accommodate that particular concept of the near market. Part of Elkhart Construction's, ask is looking at the bigger picture. Sometimes a buyer will come, it could be a near market buyer, and they'll want a particular lot.
Right.
And it, if it's available, he'd like to be able to offer that particular option to them to sell that lot and build a house for them. And there's no advantage to Elkhart. What we could send a message is that any costs of movement of covenants from now on would be borne by Elkhart Construction.
That would be reasonable. And I guess why I'm concerned is with a lack of resale inventory in town, there may be a big market for people that are looking without the near market housing, and we continue to bump the near market
Exactly.
further down the road, which I don't want to see that happen.
But there's only one other one identified at this time.
Right.
Yeah.
But to continue to sell the rest of them and continue to move that one along would be my concern. But yeah, I think it's reasonable that they incur the costs.
Yeah.
Yes,
of
I do too.
Future changes.
As if what we have agreed to is 4 out of the 26, and if this happens again, then to my mind that we tell them that because there is a cost to going down and changing it at the lawyers and that type of thing. So to me that makes sense. Yeah, I know I saw him. I'm just saying it first. Yes, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. I'll move option number 1 as it's worded in the report, and I think the other circumstance should maybe be dealt with separately, because it's actually a bylaw first and second reading request. So.
Yep.
First 3 readings, actually, yeah.
So, are you
I'll second
seconding that?
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. So to give first 3 readings to the amendment agreement bylaw, all in favor? Thank you. Now, would you like to make a second motion?
No.
No.
I will.
You will. Go ahead.
That any further changes to the zoning bylaw, Basin and market value homes be, the cost be incurred by Elkhart Construction?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. Is somebody
I'll
seconding
second.
that? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay,
There's a
now,
comment over here.
oh, sorry.
Wants to rant some more.
Can I just make a quick
Yes,
comment?
please do.
Director Zackel, don't take this as a criticism or anything, but we put a fair amount of debate and discussion into affordable housing, the term affordable housing.
Yes.
And it's very misleading and confusing because one thing may be affordable to one person and not to another. And that near market value has been the way we've been substituting it. So I just, not
And
a criticism, just
We
wording.
use them interchangeably sometimes, and we really should be
Yeah.
using near market, right?
And
the
other-
affordable housing term is something that's had vigorous debate all across British
Yeah,
Columbia. And
That's true.
I think we're trying to get away from using that just because of the facts behind it and that kind
Okay.
of thing. So,
Good.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're on to business 1, and that would be business plan highlights and approval request, Mr. Remenko.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. The Director of Finance has provided council and the public with an overview of the financial changes proposed in the 2018 budget and capital plan. The 2018 to 21 business plan identifies projects identified for implementation in 2018 and planned for future years. The business plan provides transparency to future community investments, resource allocations, projects, and staff activities. The business plan must be fluid enough to respond to emerging events in the community and council direction. Council approves the 2018 operating budget, 5-year capital plan, and the 4-year business plan. The business plan enforces the delivery of core services and service levels. Some of the projects identified for 2018 implementation have been carried over from the last year due to shifting priorities or factors that delayed in implementation, that necessitated delays in implementation. The business plan also identifies special projects and investments that Council is considering. I'm taking this opportunity to highlight some of the key activities proposed for this year's budget and business plan. In terms of general capital and parks, the canal trail lighting infrastructure from 74th Avenue to Highway 3 will be completed using resort municipality funding. Cottonwood Park washroom construction is scheduled. Dog park upgrades and ball diamond improvements will be completed on the west bench. Outdoor pickleball courts will be completed. The new welcome entrance signs will be constructed, funded by resort municipality funds. Implementation of paid parking at the boat trailer area by a ticket dispensing machine, also by resort municipality funds. And new playground for the Southeast Meadowlark subdivision. In terms of road infrastructure improvements, the resurfacing of 62nd Avenue from Highway to Highway 97 and 62nd Avenue to the secondary school. The Finch Crest resurfacing north of 74th Avenue is being carried over into the 2018. This is a carryover project. The water and sewer twinning project continues for rural area. This is the last contract under the current grant program. The sewer main lift reconstruction, public consultation on road redesign and siting, as well as project tender. Highway number 3, stormwater control, 85th Street to Park Place. And this is a recent go-ahead project for us based on the Ministry of Transportation recently letting us know that they'll provide $880,000 towards fixing their infrastructure. And then we'll be responsible for making improvements on the bump outs. Cell number 3 liner replacement, and then plans are in place to assist the golf course in the event they initiate their irrigation restoration project. Priority operations projects will include work by all departments to implement marijuana legislation and enforcement in the community, feasibility study for the Community Health Center, continued work on final designs for Gyro Park Pier. A new candidates forum is planned for the fall, well in advance of the elections. Election implementation and new council orientation, near market housing implementation, continued work on regional pool development, exploring opportunities to complete a new administration building feasibility study, application for boundary expansion in the East Bench and Lakeshore Drive areas, assessment of the fire chief position to determine need for a full-time fire chief. Downtown revitalization planning was initiated in 2017, will be completed in 2018. An overall assessment of the economic development program delivery. Age-friendly plan will be completed that will assess public infrastructure and programming to make recommendations on making infrastructure more accessible and expand program development opportunities. The urban forestry plan will be initiated in 2017 and completed in 2018. And preliminary design for a bike trail from Lakeshore Drive to Cottonwood Drive will continue to be developed. The administration will be involved in many more activities related just to our core services. However, these are some of the key highlights for 2018 that are over and above what we can be considered core service development and more proactive in nature. In terms of implications, the community benefits from a transparent business plan that highlights planned projects for the 4-year period 2018 to 2021. Organizationally, the organization has clear direction on council priority projects and direction. Budget allocations are identified for 2018, and the committee has a transparent forecast on future projects. Significant dates, the business plan is for the period of 2018 to 2021. However, it is fluid due to the changing nature of the community. The community sustainability plan is used as a foundation document in the preparation of all planning documents. In terms of options, 3 options are presented to Council today. The first being Council approves the 2018 to 2021 business plan as presented. 2, Council makes changes to the plan presented and approves the 2018 to 2021 business plan. And 3, Council requests changes or additional information prior to approving the 2018 to 2021 business plan. And the administration recommends option number 1.
Thank you very much. It's always nice to have a look at the range of activities that we've talked about and that we have agreed are important for our community. So to see them all in a list there is quite helpful. Councillor Roth or Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I move that Council approves the 2018 to 2021 business plan as presented.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Any other concerns? Thank you to everybody for taking all the time and the several meetings to get this organized. We appreciate it. All in favor? Thank you very much. And now we will go back to the Community Service Grant Program. Mr. Davis, do you want to come up here?
I'll just recuse myself.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Staff reviewed the grant applications with Councillor Campbell and Councillor King. We received over 25 applications and over $100,000 in grant requests. We reviewed all applications and shortlisted the requests that fit the criteria. The amount of funding available this year was allocated at $65,000. As part of this funding, we also allocated $2,000 for individuals and teams who compete at a provincial level or higher. The policy states that grants can be approved for special events, facility rentals, tax requirements, special projects, and insurance expenses. The applicants must be nonprofit in nature and be providing a service to the residents of Osoyoos. Even though we could not fund all applicable applications, we have made recommendations to share the funding accordingly. The goal was to provide funding to as many applicants as possible. This was brought to Council this morning, and we were bringing it forward this afternoon for approval as the recommended applicants for the committee.
So would you like to move that? Yeah.
I'd like to speak to it first in case nobody heard me this morning. I just want to repeat myself again that these are really tough decisions to make when we, not just from the amount of requests and the fact that we can't fund all of it, but having to weigh some projects against the others is really challenging because for the most part, these are volunteer groups, people that really put a lot of time and effort to better our community. And it's really difficult to sort of break out a lump sum of money and decide how much of each individual ask we can grant. But I feel that we asked a lot of questions, asked for further information, and did the best we could with it to be as fair as possible. I wish we had double the amount of money and that we could grant it all, but that's just not a reality. So I'd like to move that we move forward with the recommendation for the grant disbursements.
Thank you. Councillor King?
Yeah, I'd second that.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak to it?
Could I just make a comment?
Absolutely.
My assumption is that Councillor Youngberg left the room based on her conflict of interest as she's a member of the Board of Directors of the Desert Park Society,
Okay.
which is one of the applicants. So just as a matter of record.
Thank you very much.
I just heard it when she said it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I heard her say it.
Okay, that was good. So, all in favor of the recommendation? Thank you very much, Mr. Davis,
Thank you.
and Councillor King and Councillor Campbell for taking on this job. So we'll just wait for Councillor Youngberg to come back.
Oh, okay.
And I see next is a notice of motion. We do not have any notice of motion. Mrs. Hilson? No. Okay. Next is the general net payroll and Sun Bowl Arena financial accounts. So these net payroll accounts to March the 19th, 2018 represent balances in the following funds. General cash requirements, $487,538.77. Sun Bowl cash requirements of $14,602.08, and those will be adopted by consensus. And net payroll accounts of $69,784.16, and that is for information. Next is the business building permits, summary of building permits. And I see that in the last month we had a kind of a quiet month in January, February, but now that the weather's getting better, we have quite a few things on. $1,475,500 is the total for the month. A couple of home alterations, a couple of single-family dwellings, and it looks good. We're happy to see people are out building new homes and fixing other ones. Anybody have any Councillor Rhodes, go ahead.
I'd also like to point out the last figure, $177,000 for last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a difference.
And I think to date it was only $1,575 this year, so most of it's come this month. The rest of it is just the January, February where it was too cold. Okay, thank you. Do we have to have that received? Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Youngberg, all in favor. Thank you. And bylaw enforcement for February. It's been not a super busy month in comparison to last year at this time. It seems to me that animal takes up and the pound takes up most of our bylaw officer's time. She's absolutely wonderful with animals, and so we trust her to do that. She looks after them well. And the next page is the parks enforcement, and again, it looks like they're. No, I'm just wondering. It says 2017 and 2016. Would that be?
Probably meant.
It's meant 2018, 2017. Okay, it looks to me like dogs seems to take up most of the time. So we certainly hope that people with animals, because there's many of them. We've said this several times that people need to look after their own dogs, pick up after them, and keep them on a leash. And and we have plenty of opportunity for you to do that around town. We have lots of baggies and disposal cans, so please look after your dogs. Thank you. Do we need a report to accept this? Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Campbell, all in favor. Thank you. So Community Services Advisory Committee, and that would be, would you like to speak to this, Mr. Davis? Is there anything on there that you...
We're just bringing it forward for council's and public's review.
And I didn't see anything on there that I thought was... Did anybody see anything on there they wanted to ask about? Thank you. It sounds like you've got most of things covered. And so we need to have that the minutes of that accepted. Thank you, Councillor King, Councillor Campbell. All in favor? Thank you. And the West Bench Dog Park Committee, same thing. It sounds like, it looks to me like you and your committee, Mr. Davis, are busy getting everything set up. What are you, and Councillor Rhodes was there too. Maybe we'll let Councillor Rhodes speak to this one. Are we on track to get this open soon?
No, that's a loaded question. The short answer would be yes. I have to open up with a compliment to Director Davis and the other members of the committee. It's amazing when you have input from residents in our community with these committees, because they really bring a lot of different ideas and opinions and ways to do things to the table, and it sure made my part of the committee very easy, because they're people that use the dog park and know what they want, and there is some significant groundwork that needs to be done up there that has been somewhat impacted by the weather, but I think with the lack of rain over the last few days that we might be able to move forward. We broke a lot of those heavy earth moving and stripping jobs down into a number of different categories, and we're looking for willing participants who would like to do that work. It sounds like an awful huge project, but it's actually not. Most of these things can happen in a very short period of time. Once that's done, we'll move into fencing the area and that kind of thing. And one of the big obstacles that we're up against right now is that the dog park does require grass on it. So we're going to be stripping all of the top layer off of it, preparing it for grass, and then of course that does take some time. Although I'm not anticipating any conflict between the schedule. We don't have a definitive schedule when we want to be done, other than starting, having it done and in full use before the baseball season starts. But we've already worked out a few contingencies if that fails. And so, things are moving forward really good. It's going to be a way better dog park than we had before. The look and feel of it is going to be good, and I'm looking forward to a lot of increased participation and usage of the new park once it's done.
Good, thank you. It does say in here that might it be possible to reuse the sod that is taken from the ball diamond?
Yeah, we are looking into that,
Okay.
and we do not have any answers to
Okay,
that
might
at this
be
point.
tricky.
Yeah.
It's very heavy to move, I think, too, isn't it? Okay, thank you very much. So we need a motion to accept the minutes of the Councillor King, Councillor Campbell. All in favor? Thank you very much. And we will go to CAO report.
Thank you, Mayor McCordock. Just a few of the activities that the administration has been involved in the next couple of weeks, and some announcements. So starting March 24th, there'll be a teen program over at the Sonora Center in cooperation with the Boys and Girls Clubs. The Occupational Health and Safety request for proposals has been advertised. The 3 proposals for the age-friendly project will be reviewed and successful proponent picked this week. They've ordered the pay parking machine for the boat trailer parking. We hope to have it operationalized by May 1st. The repairs at the marina will be completed this week and will be open April 1st as per our marina operations policy, and that the Sonora Center will be closed Good Friday and Easter Monday. In terms of corporate services does our emergency management. 6,000 sandbags have been ordered from the province and will be on hand in case they're needed. The director is now attending weekly conference calls with Emergency Management BC, and the town was successful in a joint application with the town of Oliver for a $25,000 grant for training, setup, and organization of an emergency support service in the two communities. The director, along with the emergency services manager from the regional district, held a session with the Osoyoos Fire Department regarding BC Emergency Response Management System, which is meant as a precursor to the introduction to emergency management in BC. So this was a very good session between the officers and our emergency personnel. In terms of, they also handle our human resources, and interviews were completed for the senior planner position, and I'm very happy to announce that Francesca Sana from the Caribou Regional District will be joining us on April 3rd, and she brings 10 years of experience as a community planner from there, plus other experience in the Central Okanagan Regional District. So we'll be welcoming Francesca early in April. 2 relief clerks have been hired to fill vacancies left by 2 previous relief clerks. Postings for laborers, facility caretaker positions closes on March 23rd, and postings are going out this week for student positions. In terms of finance, they're currently working on final portions of the audit for 2017, updating the fees and charges bylaws for utilities, and working with lawyers in the purchase of a Meadowlark subdivision lot. Planning and development, an ALR exclusion is in progress for the remainder of the property north of Sonora Gardens. License occupation has been started to allow the Whibbit project, and food trucks looking to locate here need to respond to our EOI request. In terms of public works, in case people didn't know, construction season has started. H&D Excavating is approximately 65% complete in the installation of their new storm sewer on Main Street between 85th and Park Place. They have scheduled crossing of the Spartan Drive for Thursday, March 22nd. Cell 3 liner replacement contract has been completed. The contract for the installation of new aerator in Cell 3 is out and will close on the 29th. Contract for number 3 rural water twinning has begun, and Superior Excavating is approximately 10% complete. Jeff Wiseman of MOTI sent an email, and I mentioned this earlier, but I was wrong in my addresses. That was not the Park Place project, but MOTI is providing $822,000 towards the installation of new storm sewers on Main Street between 85th and 89th. Okay. So that'll be in 2018. So in fall, we'll continue to dig up the Main Street. Again, this is money that MOTI is providing the town so that we can contract management, the construction and fixing of their infrastructure. Along with that, we'll be continuing our bump out projects, which the town will contribute approximately $203,000. So the installation of Xeriscape landscaping in the four-way stop at the golf course drive is now complete. Maximum contractor has been hired to complete repairs on our town hall front entrance roof, and the bids have gone out for the West Bench Dog Park, and the rites of passage of spring have started because our street sweeper is now operational, and we started sweeping today. Unfortunately, it was broken down earlier, and we had to wait about a month for parts, so otherwise we'd have been on it a little earlier. Myself, we held a startup meeting with Collier International team and the committee for the medical center feasibility project. Completed the business plan updates. We held an operations information meeting with the RCMP, and I also attended the regional CAO's meeting, and that's my report for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could we have a motion to accept the report, please? Thank you. Councillor King, Councillor Youngberg. All in favor? Thank you. So we'll go on to council reports. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. Just a couple of things to report. I was able to sit on the regional district last Thursday, and as usual, it was very, very interesting, even though the agenda was pretty skinny and there wasn't an awful lot of topics on it. But I did want to mention that one of the agenda items had to do with the controversy of cannabis in our community, and we all will be fully engaged in the retail sale and use of it in our community. But this agenda item was about the commercial aspect of actually growing the product for medical and recreational use in commercial facilities, and the debate was surrounding where do we place these facilities if the opportunities come up. And I understand that from the report that there has been a few applications already, and the decision that was voted on was to locate in industrial areas within the regional district. And you would think, well, that's a no-brainer, and that's exactly what should be done, but there has been most of the applications have been to locate on agricultural land, and they wanted to clarify that. And none of the staff, or the people who prepared the reports, were in favor of having it on agricultural land. So, I just wanted to mention that, well, you might think that this is an insignificant thing, but in the reporting, the size and nature of some of these facilities is absolutely mind-boggling. There's a facility in California who just recently passed the legalization of marijuana, but they've been able to grow it down there, that is 623,000 square feet in size. Now that's almost the same size as downtown Osoyoos, or even bigger. It's incredible. So at least there was some insight into the future where these things might go, because we all know that our marijuana is highly sought after all over the world, the stuff that we grow right here. So, I'm not sure if that's their motivation, but it's all been illegal, but that's all going to change.
Don't tell Alberta that.
Yeah. BC Bud has got quite the reputation all over the world, and so we need to be cautious about where these facilities are located. On a lighter note, our town that is directly north of us, the town of Oliver, is going through a rebranding process right now, and they've been long known as the wine capital of Canada. I think I got it right. And they've had that designation for decades in that community. When they were going through this branding process, I understand that they realized that they didn't actually own the brand.
Oh, dear.
So you have to own the brand, like Osoyoos does with our Canada's Warmest Welcome brand. And unbeknownst, and through the research, it was found out that the regional district actually owns the brand, and nobody is really sure why this occurred, and all of the historical records have all been set aside somewhere, and nobody could. So anyway, the mayor and council made a request to the regional district to obtain this brand back, that they may change anywhere. But they found out that it's highly sought after all across Canada. There's areas in the Niagara Peninsula that have been trying to get this brand for the longest time and have not been able to do so. So one of the impressive things about the documentation and the brand that was awarded to Oliver is that it was signed by the Queen of England.
Wow.
Believe it or not. One of the few documents that she's ever signed, and how that ever happened and why it happened, I'm not sure if anybody would ever know. We never had the documentation. We just dealt with the request to allow the town of Oliver to get the rights to use this brand legally, like they always have anyway. So just a little bit of interesting stuff that went on there.
Trivia.
Yeah. Well, it was not trivial to them.
No,
it was a big thing, yeah. So
that's it. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Councillor Campbell?
I don't know how to follow that. Sorry. I know you've been away a while, but you didn't have to fit it all in the one meeting when you got back. Spent some time looking at the rural education report that was released from the provincial government, and looking at the findings and some of the recommendations, and trying to understand why it was released in the manner that it was, where we had to, both the school district and the municipality had to push to get the report released, which the only reason that concerns me is it was a pretty in-depth report, and the only reason I could think of for not releasing it is if you weren't planning to do anything with it. Mm-hmm. So, yes, the report was released with a little bit of pressure, and I'm saying this because I think that same pressure needs to continue in order to make sure that that becomes a living, breathing document that's utilized, and to look at some of those recommendations. So I don't think just because it's released that the pressure should come off. I think we need to continue because, like I said, I can't think of any other reason for making it a cabinet-only document and trying to find ways not to release it. Other than that, the Coyotes are back in town playing Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yep, tomorrow night.
Tuesday, Wednesday. I know it's midweek, but it's great entertainment and great hockey, so if you can get out midweek and check out those games and support the team, that'd be great. That's it.
Thank you. Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Attending the opening of the washrooms at Sonora Center for families with special needs and families with wheelchairs, and by doing that, we've had a response back that we're actually the leaders in the province with that type of initiative, so congratulations to the people involved that made that happen, Mr. Davis specifically, and also met with the DO's Economic Development Committee to discuss moving forward with that committee. And again, go Coyotes go. Hope to see everybody there tomorrow night.
Thank you. Councillor Youngberg.
Yes, thanks, Mayor McCordoff. Adam Fiesta was really well attended on the weekend. We officially opened it with the assistance of Mitch Fritz and Jim Harrington, which was delightful to the youngsters that were participating in. So we I'm so happy they filled our community this weekend. It was a very interesting event from what I understand. And same thing, Coyotes, I hope they win, and I've been away for a bit, so that's my report.
Thank you. And I just had a couple of things. One, I wanted to, two things that had to do with the schools. One was the Osoyoos Elementary School that had an open house one day. There were a couple of teachers had planned a project, and I was absolutely blown away. As a primary teacher, I couldn't believe the detail and the organization that had gone into the grade 2 class, who had information kiosks up, 8 of them I think that they had built and painted, and they produced little brochures about their topic. So one was Town Hall, one was the museum, one was Haynes Point. I thought it was quite interesting because the kids had been here to Town Hall, and what they wrote on there was that it was great fun to come to Town Hall and meet Mayor McCordoff and her dog. Because my daughter's dog was staying with me at the time, and that was what was the key thing there. They did an absolutely excellent job of this. All of the classes were invited in to view this. Mr. McGuire, did you get in there? No, that was too bad. It was just for the one day, and I was really impressed with the learning that went on and the organizational skills. So kudos to them. And the same week, I also went to the production of Aladdin up at the secondary school, and that was excellent. That was a group of not only students and parents and teachers and administrators, and they just put on a phenomenal play up there. So congratulations to them. It's always nice to see our school facilities being used really well. I was at the Mayor's Caucus in Squamish last week, and we had, it meets, I think, once a year, sometimes at UBCM as well, and to sort of highlight information, things that would be of use to a mayor, no matter, because we had some from way up north and some from the island, and there was probably 40 or 50 mayors there, I think. Anyway, there were three main topics that we had some information on. One was the opioid crisis, and Mark Tyndall, who is a public health doctor and has worked in the downtown east side, and he was very forthcoming about some of the issues that he deals with and what he felt we should see in the coming forward. That's a long, involved process. The cannabis regulation was another one that was talked about, because there's a planning committee at the coast, one a lawyer and one a councillor from Vancouver, and they talked about the federal laws, which haven't come in yet, the provincial, and what is being downloaded onto the municipality. And if you were listening to the COW meeting this morning, you heard quite a long discussion on that, with these two particularly. And the other one was rural urban divide, and several mayors from rural communities, urban communities, talking about the need to keep talking, to work together, because basically we need each other. So it was the first time I had been to the Mayor's Caucus, and I found it quite interesting. And the last thing I want to say is that before we have our next meeting again on March the 31st, it's Easter extravaganza. So schools need to, and school's out right now, so I'm hoping that the parents will pay attention. There's an Easter egg hunt down at the field by the elementary school at 10 o'clock, and there's numerous activities and entertainment outside here from 9 until 1, and if you'd like to come at 8 o'clock, you can see Councillor King flipping flapjacks, because the Rotary put on a pancake breakfast. So please come out and support Easter extravaganza. We get a lot of people from the town, and we also always have lots and lots of people who actually come here for this event, because I have them all in my basement, the eggs. I have 3,500 chocolate eggs, and those will be scattered on the field up to age 11. That's okay. And we also have stuffed bunnies for 24 people who find a plastic egg. So lots of things to do. This is the 24th or 25th annual Easter extravaganza. So please come out and enjoy, and I hope everybody has a safe and happy Easter long weekend. Thank you. We have a motion to adjourn. Thank you. Councillor Campbell, Councillor King, all in favor. Thanks, everybody.